Hey everybody, and welcome back to Lost Genre Reddit Stories. Quick warning before we begin, in today's story there is mention of a miscarriage, so if that is a topic that is sensitive for you, then you might want to skip this story. Now let's get started. This story is from the subreddit True Off My Chest, and it's by user Expensive Concept 152. My ex-husband, who cheated on me with my sister, emailed me after 6 years. I, 33 female, met my ex-husband, Dan, 40 female, almost 15 years ago at a restaurant when I was celebrating my 18th birthday. He was really nice, charming, and mature. He made me feel loved and special. For some context, I grew up in a dysfunctional family. My mom and dad used to always fight. My dad would sometimes go out and not come back for months. He died when my sister Abby, 25 female, was born. My mom was way too fond of Abby since her birth rather than me. Abby was basically babied by my mother. She didn't neglect me at all, always did her best as a mother and provided for me, but I always felt like something was missing. After Dan came into my life, I didn't feel like there was something missing from me. He supported me, he was caring, he would always buy me gifts and take me out on long drives. I felt complete when I was with him. We got married after dating for 4 years. I wanted to start a family right away, but Dan encouraged me to do my master's and helped me build my career. He wanted us to be in a stable position financially before we start thinking about having kids. Seriously, he was the best guy I could ever ask for. After 5 years of being happily married, I discovered that my husband was cheating on me with Abby. I discovered the affair when my husband made an excuse saying that he would be out of town for a week, but he stayed in town and he booked a hotel room where he and Abby could have sex. This has been going on for 6 months behind my back. I was really devastated. Abby and I were close growing up. I loved her and cared for her. How could she do this to me? After D-Day, Dan and I had a fight. I asked how could he do this, and with my sister who just turned 19. He said he didn't love me anymore, that I don't give him enough attention, that I am not the same girl he fell in love with. Between this mess, I discovered I was pregnant, but due to the stress, I lost the baby. He didn't even care enough to visit me at the hospital when I lost our child. He was having a weekend getaway with my sister. I should have seen the signs. Abby would always be touchy with Dan. Dan would sometimes stare at her, but it is still very disturbing to me. My mother, as usual, took Abby's side and told me to just make peace with it. I wanted to end myself because I had no one left. I lost my child and my husband, my whole family. Then my best friend Tina, my savior, came to my rescue. She was moving to another state and asked me to come with her. I said yes. I was already divorced at that point and we lived in a small town, so I would obviously run into my ex and my sister. It took me a while to settle into my new life in a different state, but I met some kind people there. It helped me heal some trauma. I still have trust issues. I met my now husband Tony, 32 male, after 1 year of moving to the new place. I was really hesitant and kept my guard up, but he showed me that he is trustworthy and loves me a lot. I am so happy with him that I almost forgot about the life I had back in my hometown. His parents were really welcoming and are generous people. We got married a year ago. I am now pregnant with our first child. And then yesterday, I got an email from my ex, Dan. It just brought back all the bad memories. I am just paraphrasing his email, but he mentioned that he misses me. He tried to find me, but he couldn't. He is very miserable with my sister. She is very dumb and doesn't care about him as I do. I used to bake him a cake and throw birthdays for him, but Abby only texted him happy birthday and didn't even bother to buy him a cake. Plus, she is very rude. She doesn't respect him, and she is always at the bar with her friends. He also mentioned that she has cheated on him 5 times already. The last affair was with his cousin. Our mother also doesn't stop her. He will soon file for a divorce, but lately he has been missing me a lot. He wants us to try again as a couple. He wants us to become a family just like before. Since I do not have social media except for Instagram, which is private, he probably doesn't know that I am married and have a baby on the way. I don't know if I should feel pity for him or just laugh because the grass on his side is very brown rather than green. Well, OP, I would think that the high road would make you do something like not even respond, to just delete his email and send him to spam or block his email and just move on with your life, just continue as you were. And then the pay road, which I completely do not disagree with, I would think would be something like kick him when he's down. You already know he's going through hell. And let's face it is a misery that he absolutely deserves. He is a scummy human being because not only did he cheat on you with your sister, he possibly groomed her, so we know this guy sucks. So you still want to drive that point through that you are happy, that you are doing better than him, and that he deserves everything that is happening to him. And if that is the case, then OP, I would suggest that you give the least amount of information possible. You don't want him knowing anything about you, and you don't want him to pull on anything to start up a conversation. So I would suggest something along the lines of, too bad your life sucks, mine's awesome, don't contact me again, or any less personal variation of that. You've done a great job moving forward so far. Don't let his email screw that up for you. Anyways, what do you guys think about this whole situation? What would you do if you were in OP shoes? Let me know in the comment section, and now let's move on to the community comments to see what they said. Blade982 says, quote, "He is very miserable with my sister," end quote. Good, he is living the life he deserves. Quote, "He wants us to become a family just like before," end quote. Well, he effed your family last time you were a couple, so I don't think it's a word he should be throwing around lightly. Majestic Post 1648 says, "Ignore him just like he ignored you when you were broken and suffering after being betrayed by your own family and husband. Congratulations on your marriage and pregnancy." Fun Statistician 550 says, "As much as I would like to be petty, ignoring him would be the best option here." Fire or Water Kai says, "Have a huge laugh at his expense. His woe is me tale deserves zero pity. Be happy that your life isn't intertwined with these absolute garbage people. Don't respond, let him marinate in his misery." Defective Meatbag says, "Put on caps lock and write ha 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 ha. If you feel like being extra spicy, include a picture of you and your hubby's hands showing the wedding rings resting on your pregnant belly. F that guy, keep living your best life." OP's edit update. I just wanted to say thanks to all of you who messaged and showed me support. I have decided to send him an email and be done with it. It goes like this. "Dan, I am sorry to hear that you are suffering, but there is no way I would be with you. Yes, there was a time when I used to be that girl who would have taken you in a heartbeat, but that girl is not here anymore. That girl died the day I had a miscarriage and you were somewhere shacking up with my sister. I called you, but you never picked up. I am married to a wonderful man who loves me and cherishes me. I am also pregnant with our first child. I am beginning this new chapter of my life with someone I love and care deeply about. So please, do not contact me ever again. You made your choice. You chose my barely legal sister over me. I do not care if she cheats on you or if she doesn't respect you. Someone like you doesn't deserve loyalty and respect anyways. I have left my old life in my old town. It will be best for you to move on and have some self-reflection. You are just a deeply insecure man who is getting old and thought having a young woman would be good by your side. Goodbye." Alright, well, the community had some pretty creative ways for OP to respond to her ex, and apparently OP already did that, so how about we move on to the update to see how this story ends and what happened after OP's reply. But before that, here's another one on my playlist that you can enjoy after this video. Now let's move on with the update. First of all, thanks to everyone who has shown me support. I needed it. So the last thing I told you all was that I wrote him an email. What happened next was that he replied within an hour of my emailing him. He said that he was stupid enough to believe that I would still wait for him, and he said he would always wait for me because no matter what, I will always be his baby doll. I cringed hard. He used to call me that, but now it feels repulsive. The email from him, my ex, just struck me like a train. I had flashbacks of everything he had done to me. Then, a few hours later, I get two other emails, one from my mom and one from my sister. My mom just congratulated me and was excited that she is going to be a grandmother. And my sister also did the same and said she will be the cool aunt. They emailed me to an old email address that I hardly use now. I don't know how they knew about my pregnancy. I try to keep a low profile. I still haven't posted my baby bump pictures on social media or made any announcements. I only have Instagram to follow my friends, but it just scared me. I broke down crying on the spot. I could not believe these people. They forgot how they treated me when I needed them, and moreover betrayed me. Luckily, my husband Tony was around. He held me and put me on the couch. He knows everything about me. I've never hidden anything from him. I was a little bit scared that my mom and sister would find me. He reassured me that I am hundreds of miles away from them. I mean, we live in the opposite part of the country. He took me out for ice cream to comfort me. It took 2 ice cream cones to finally calm me down. Well, I hope I can move past this. I told him about my concerns and that my mom and sister might demand to see my baby. It's a girl. He told me he would talk to his uncle, who is a police officer, to be on the lookout for them. Even if they come here and force themselves on us, he would fight for it. He is going to consult his lawyer friend about this matter, and told me not to worry about my ex. He cannot harm me anymore. My husband even made a joke that he would move countries if he has to.
Velkommen til dig. Og til dig. Velkommen til det rigtige foder, det rigtige udstyr, et stort udvalg af præcis.
Also, I have been reading your comments, and it seems like my sister and I were groomed by that man, which is something I cried about for a long time. I feel so stupid, and I know I shouldn't be mad at my sister, but she was old enough to know it's bad to have an affair with a married man. That also is someone who is your sister's husband. In any case, I blocked all of them. I am 5 months pregnant already. I don't need more stress. God bless my husband. Finally, someone in my post commented that I should alert the daycare about my mom and sister in case they try to steal my baby. Well, we aren't planning to put her in daycare. Even though I am currently working, I decided I would quit my job and look after my baby and focus on healing from giving birth. I do have a good amount of savings in my personal bank account, and this is my own decision. I will go back to work when our girl is a little bit older. My in-laws are amazing and they live nearby. They are both good people and offered to help me with my child. Also, don't worry, apart from my in-laws, I have a good support system too. Tina and her wife Jenny basically adopted me. Well, they are really good people and have always helped me. I don't know what will happen in the future, but at least I am surrounded by some good people that I never had growing up. Now I will take your leave and enjoy my husband pampering me. Well, OP, that was a very thorough reply, and even though it's not what I would have done, apparently it worked for you. Although I do have to say that I believe that's where the leak came from to your mom and your sister. Because, well, you told him on your email, and it would be easy for him to just lie and say that a friend of yours, from high school or whatever, told him about you and how you were doing. And that's how he knows. In any case, it's irrelevant because they're all blocked and they live on the other side of the country. So congratulations on the pregnancy, OP. I hope you keep enjoying your husband pampering you, and all the best in the future. Take care. Now let's finish this video with a mood booster post. This post is from the subreddit Malicious Compliance, and it's by user Hyperquisitist. The customer is always right. About 9 years ago, I worked at a food service job within a retail store. This job was absolutely horrible as I got written up for anything and everything I did. If I took my breaks, right up. If I didn't take my breaks, right up. I called out once with a doctor's note saying that I absolutely could not work as my illness was highly contagious, right up. This was my first time ever calling out, and I gave 48 hours notice. The second and last time was for my grandma's funeral, which I had requested off and was denied. I was written up then too. Any excuse my supervisor could find to write me up, he did. Being in high school at the time, I took this very personally and assumed that I had done something wrong. I worked there for 2 years, taking each write-up as a learning opportunity. However, I finally reached a point where I recognized that it wasn't my fault, and the malicious compliance began. In this job, there were add-ons, and these add-ons came with an upcharge. I had customers complain to me constantly about not wanting to be charged extra, but normally they would just pay it and move on. One customer, however, refused to pay for the add-on, but wanted it anyway. I pointed to the sign which said that it would cost extra and tried my best to politely explain to her that I can't give it to her without charging her. She demanded to speak to my manager. I happily called the manager over. I'll call him Bob. Bob was employed through the retail store specifically. Regardless, I thought that surely Bob would have my back, as he knows the most about the rules that I had to follow. I was very, very wrong. After listening to the customer, Bob proceeded to yell at me in front of her, stating, "The customer is always right and you're not paid to argue with her. Give her what she wants and do not charge her for any of it." He also informed me that I would be written up for this, and I was. From that moment on, whenever a customer complained about having to pay for an add-on, I didn't charge them for it. If they demanded their items for free, stating that they didn't like them or had a bad experience in the past, they got them for free. After all, the customer says that they shouldn't have to pay for it, so who was I to argue? Of course, he meant that I shouldn't argue to the point of the manager being called. But he didn't specify, and I didn't want to be written up for it again, nor did I care to follow a do as I mean, not as I say policy anymore. It didn't take long for the people who worked in the actual retail store to learn that they could also get add-ons for free if they complained about it, as at the time that they were ordering, they were technically customers. Since each add-on costs between 60 cents and $1, and most customers wanted more than one add-on, the company was losing an average of $2 to $3 per transaction on the add-ons alone, not even considering the customers who got their entire order for free. Of course, $2 to $3 doesn't seem like much, but it was enough to catch the attention of my district supervisor, who I will call Anne. Anne was employed by the food service company, and her job was to oversee the branches that were inside retail stores. Anne was very nice and respected the employees who worked with her company, regardless if they weren't employed directly by her company, as was my case. She first asked Bob about why our location appeared to be less profitable than other locations, and less profitable than it had been a few months previously. He tried to pin it on me, stealing from the company by giving my friends and co-workers free items, and, understanding how serious of an accusation that was, insisted on speaking with me alone. I expected to be fired, but she instead asked me why profits had gone down.
Vi starter tilbage i 2018 med blot én varebil i Aarhus.
I explained to her what Bob had told me about the customer always being right and how I had gotten written up and didn't want to be written up again. So I followed his instructions word for word. For the first time since starting this job, someone took my side. She agreed that not charging for those add-ons would explain the loss she was seeing, and that how Bob handled the situation was unprofessional and entirely against policy. Having Bob accuse me of stealing to protect himself was my last straw, and I put in my 2 weeks' notice that same day. HR had apparently taken notice of how Bob was treating me, as her exact words were, "It's about time. I'm glad you're finally standing up for yourself." With my consent, she altered some of the dates to make my end date a week earlier than it should have been, since the schedule had not been written up yet. To this day, I think of her as my guardian angel. Shortly after my last shift, I was informed by my friends that Bob no longer worked there as well, and was so upset with him that she called his supervisor and launched an investigation into his behavior. As it turns out, I was not the only one he would write up without a legitimate reason. There were also incredibly upset that he directly caused an unnecessary loss in profits. He could not blame me for it, and many people corroborated that he had said the same to them at one point or another. I was just the first to maliciously comply with his request, thus bringing his behavior to the attention of someone in a higher position than him. He was fired, effective immediately. Yikes, OP. Bob cost them a lot of profit loss. I mean, yeah, sure, you say $2 to $3 sounds small, but in the amount of transactions, that is not small at all. I can definitely see how a red flag was risen so that Anne saw it. And so, Bob is out. Thanks for sharing, OP. And that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch it. Now, if you've gotten to this point in the video, I assume that you like these stories that I'm reading out. So here are a couple more that you might enjoy. And if you don't have any time to watch another story right now, save it for later. And also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button.
My wife passed away from something horrible. It took me a long time, but eventually I started to love again.